It's for my bachelor thesis because I study psychology and now it's my third year, so I'm doing the bachelor thesis and it's on a theme missionaries, their well-being and motivation. So I'm doing interviews with with about 10 American missionaries who are in Czech, and yeah, I'll see what I found out. If you want, I can send you the results afterwards.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I like your questions. Those are really good questions that you sent.
Oh, thank you. Okay, and one last thing. All the information that I'll be using only your first name, and it will be used only for my school and nothing more.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great.
So, what did you do in the USA before you decided into missions?
I studied construction management and business, and I worked for a year and a half for a big construction company. But it wasn't my biggest passion. I was professional, but not passionate. I was passionate about working with youth, outreach, and Christian youth.
And can you tell me also something about your background, something about your family, if it's Christian family, or how did you become a Christian?
Okay. My family is Christian, and we went to church and Sunday school youth group. For about 2 or 3 years when I was a teenager, our youth group was just for fun, but not for spiritual growth. And my faith kind of went away too. So I was in the world, and church activities and information didn't change me. What changed me is someone said, try to go in your closet and get to know God through Jesus. But don't tell anybody. Just try that and see if he's real. So I started that because the world was really dissatisfying, really frustrating for me. And then I found new life again. Jesus, who resurrected from the dead, came back into my life, into my heart, and has been there for 22 years.
Nice. And why did you decide to be a missionary?
Because it was my passion. It wasn't a sacrifice. It would have been harder to not become a missionary because I really wanted to work with youth, and I didn't know if I should work with youth in America or in Czech, but in Czech, a lot of kids had not heard about Jesus, and they were pretty open. And so I had to wait a year before I could come. Then I could finally be here, so I was really happy. And to be specific, it was just on my heart. It was my motivation. One time in church, I was sitting there, and I just had a desire to, like, Jesus washed the feet of his men, and I totally wanted to wash the feet, like even literally, of people over in Czech, and it's just, I really, really wanted to do that. Later I realized, well, I could wash their feet or do even kinder things, or even better things than that to help the Czechs.
So you didn't study anything like to be a missionary or some Christian university?
Is our signal okay? Can you?
Maybe if.
Hey, why don't we switch to audio because the signal.
Yeah, probably. How do we do? Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it'll be better. Let's see.
Yeah, let's try. So, did you study any school to be a missionary or something like that, or it was just your desire? So.
Yeah, I went to a full-time school for about 3.5 months. And that was really besides church, that was my only Christian training, really. But I had done volunteer youth ministry for 5 years before I came over.
And what was your last time when you were in Czech? Oh, sorry, your first time.
1996 and no, 1997, and I did a hiking trip with the youth group in the Tatris, and then I did an English camp. Oh, but the spring of 1996, I came here as a tourist. I was studying engineering in Denmark, and I took the train here, and it was really different than the West. Very different. As soon as you crossed the border, it looked different, and the people were different, and the philosophy was different.
Okay, and why did you choose the Czech Republic?
Well, it wasn't some type of bolt of lightning or some big easy decision. It was, I had been to 40 countries before that, and Czech was the most dry and empty spiritual country that I've ever seen. So that's why. And there was a team working here that I could join.
Okay. So you said you were at 40 countries before?
Yeah, approximately.
Wow. And it was like short-term trips?
Oh no, those were like just short tourism, I guess.
Oh, tourism.
My parents lived in China on business, and to travel there, you have to take 3 airplane flights, and I would always stop for 2 or 3 days in a layover, and I would see very poor countries, very rich countries, very religious countries, but nothing like Czech.
So where else have you been on mission?
Just to the Indians, the Navajo in the west of America, and with Czech people, I've been to Romania, Ukraine, Serbia. Yeah, I guess that's all.
And these were long-term or short-term?
No, just 1 week trips.
Yeah, just 1 week. Okay. And how many years have you been a missionary for?
16.
Wow.
16.
For so long. And do you work for any organization?
COM. No, it's part of Josiah Venture. I mean, you know this, but Josiah Venture, COM is the Czech partner.
Yeah. And what was the key to decide for that organization?
Yeah, good question. It needed to have good leadership, meaning good leaders, like good people, strong and solid, good character, and it needed to have good vision, what to focus on. And I was really impressed with the vision and the leaders of Josiah Venture and COM.
So you've been with them for the whole 17 years?
Yeah.
And how did your spiritual preparation go before you moved to Czech, if there was any?
Yeah. I think it has always been there, because it's hard to change yourself right before you go on a long-term mission. I just started to love Jesus again when I was 18. I mean, a lot. I mean, it really changed the way, everything. Priorities about money, priorities about dating, deep longings for, like, to be the best student or the best sportsman, or those weren't important to me anymore. And, when Jesus really abides and lives in you, you just start having his heart for things. And I had the heart for the people who don't know Jesus and will not be saved after death. And that was there as a student, I didn't expect to become a full-time Christian worker or missionary. But I was volunteering my time when I was a student and a construction worker.
Yeah. And what about your culture preparation? How did it go?
Yeah. They gave us good training at mission school. They talked about culture shock, that everything's great at the beginning, then everything is bad, and then you come out of that hole again, and you love it even more. And that training kept me on the field because I thought something was majorly wrong when I had really bad culture shock. And also, this is spiritual work. I had a lot of spiritual opposition, and I thought something was wrong, but the training showed me that it's normal.
So the training wasn't before you moved to Czech, it was after moving?
It was, but they talk about general culture preparation, but in Czech is where you really learn the culture.
Yeah.
So I read a lot of things, but you can only learn so much from books, you know.
Yeah. And how did you adapt to a new environment?
Really poorly. It was really difficult. Really difficult. I've never seen a missionary have such strong culture shock as I have. For some reason, it hit me really, really hard. And I'd been to, 40 countries and lived in Denmark, and I don't know why it was so strong for me, but the first 4 months I was traveling and at English camps, and then the next 10 months I was in a new city, the only American and there were 100,000 people in the city, and I was the only American, and the culture is really, really, really different. Like I would say violently different. Some people say, oh, Czech and American culture, it's similar compared to Chinese and Czech or Chinese and America. I don't know, but the Czech, really, when you get down to it, it's very different. And I didn't understand it. I didn't like it. The language took me 3 years to learn. And so it was a slow adaptation, but it was very meaningful because I came out of that process deeply in love with Czech culture, Czech people, Czech language, Czech countryside, Czech ways of doing things, food, everything. So
yeah,
I'm glad I didn't give up.
And what did help you in those times?
Yeah. Every morning, God was really close to me. I never saw him with my eyes, but he was so close to me, so alive. Morning times of praying and just sitting, reading his words, or just sitting with him was so meaningful, so helpful, so good. One of the biggest struggles was I couldn't find really mature Christian men, especially from that didn't have a language barrier. And but it did help when I went across the other side of the country to spend some time with mature Christian men. That helped a lot. And then I took one day off per week because everything was so exhausting. I still do that, but I don't. So one day, just free day of fun and renewal helped a lot.
And how does the organization you work with support you in your work?
Now?
Yeah.
Well, for me, they give a lot of freedom, and I work well with a lot of freedom, with direction and vision, but a lot of flexibility and freedom. So that's just me. They take care of my visa,
Mm-hmm.
and they collect some support money in America and put it in my bank account.
Mm-hmm.
And they have they're really good people. They have 2 conferences a year, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
3, and they're if there was a problem with I guess any problem with, especially if I had an emergency, they would help me.
Yeah.
And then they give me a job to do, but it's not like a 9 to 5 job. It's kind of, they give me vision to work with them.
Yeah. And how do other missionaries you are surrounded by influence you in what you're doing?
Um, um, just a second.
Yeah.
Being here so long, I don't think they influence me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're great people, they're friends, but I don't think they lead me or something.
Mm-hmm.
I know some missionaries that aren't with COM that are with Josiah Venture that help lead me, but I don't think they. They're just good friends, But
And in past, was there anything?
yeah, they give you kind of the leadership of how to do something, what to do. It's wonderful to learn Czech language and culture from a Czech, but actually it can go faster through an American and then a Czech. For example, I would have learned Czech faster if an American taught it to me, but the Czech teacher had never taught an American. She'd only taught a Polish or a Russian guy.
Yeah.
But English has no cases, and she could not explain what a case was to me.
Yeah.
And for so many, many, many months, I couldn't capture what a case was. And so before, they kind of held my hand and gave me materials and what to study. They explained what we're doing here and how we can live as an American here. And even till today, we cooperate a lot, sharing things with each other. But I try to, now I'm trying to help new missionaries.
Yeah.
Like others helped me.
And what group of people are you aiming to reach in your mission?
Youth and youth pastors.
And how do you fulfill your vision?
My vision is that there would be a movement of God among the youth here in Czech Republic that finds its home in the church and then transforms the society. And for this 10 years, my vision and goal is to, according to 1 Thessalonians 5:11, encourage youth and youth leaders and build them up. And I'm working towards 50 men that they would be built up, tall trees, very mature Christians. And so now I just work with men, especially men who lead other men and youth. And I do that through one-on-one meetings and Christian coaching, small groups. I teach, especially to men, talk about things that young men deal with, purity and time management and prayer and Bible intake.
Yeah.
So youth ministry and youth ministry training.
And you don't do English camps anymore?
No. But I did for 17 summers.
And how do you see support from your family and friends?
Yeah, the support in America is really good. My family's with me, and my friends are encouraged. We live a long ways from each other. I don't know what it's like to be a parent and have a child away, but they're still behind it because they're Christians. I've had friends visit. That's encouraging, especially at the beginning. Um, One of the things that is to understand a missionary is to know that you can't really understand them because um, if you weren't a missionary, you can't understand them, but you can give them kind of grace, patience. If they need to, spend time with other Americans at the beginning, especially, it's just will keep them healthy and their money habits and eating habits, time management and comfort levels, they're all different. So, but the longer they're here, the more they get used to and love it here. And now, after living here, I was away for 50 days last summer, and I just really, really missed it here. And I really feel at home here in Czech, and I hate being away for long.
And how do you see support from the organization you work with?
They support me by sending men to we do coaching together, and sometimes they set me up to do some training or teaching, and they help me get the visa. The American side does paperwork, collects money, helps with taxes. Moral support is there's a staff member who's asking how the missionaries are doing, spending time with me and others. So, yeah.
And how do people in the USA react to you as a missionary?
They really respect it. Most people in America are God respecters, and nobody's ever said a bad thing. In fact, they really respect my profession, and it's very encouraging to go there because they just honor that. Especially in the churches, they just really honor it. It's like a small like celebration when you visit their church. They really supportive morally, and they think it's a really good work.
And how do Christians in Czech react to you as a missionary?
Now it's different than when I moved here. In the 1990s, all the Czechs were trained to be anti-American, and a lot of that was showing, even though we were both Jesus followers. There was, most in the 90s, everybody who was born before 1989 was born an enemy, and we had very radically different worldviews or even schooling, and so it took a long time to earn trust, and there was some skepticism and some fear. So I felt like I really had to go very, very humbly and walk slowly, carefully, sensitive, and now sometimes they'll say, "Oh, thanks for being here." I had one guy say, "Thank you for coming." My first year, so not a lot of encouragement.
Yeah.
But you find encouragement elsewhere because this is it seems normal that almost no one believes in God or follows Jesus, but it's really not normal for human beings to not believe in God. I've been all over the world, and almost everybody believes in some God, but Czechs don't.
So you saw that people in 90s, they didn't trust you, and did they do anything against you, or there just wasn't trust?
Yeah, it was kind of a passive non-acceptance. Our organization had some trials. We were bringing new things. For example, I don't think anyone was printing anything in color, but our organization started printing things in color, and I remember that my Christian friends saw that, and they just were criticizing waste of money, American, all these things, and now everybody prints in color.
Yeah.
But so it's hard to know what's cultural and what's just what needs to be improved for God, not to become American, but to become more godly and like God's quality and things. So, but there was no aggressive resistance.
Yeah.
Maybe in some schools that the students invited me to, like after 9/11, the students invited me to a school, and the principal just got in my face and resisted me coming into the school. So that was probably the biggest rejection, but it was kind of a quiet rejection.
Yeah. And how do non-believers in Czech react to you? You already said something.
You know what? Totally fine. I mean, in fact, at this time of history, Americans have real open doors to believers and non-believers in Czech. It will probably change in the future. It hasn't always been this way, but non-believers have kind of all Czechs, just there's a curiosity or something, and let me say it, sometimes their eyes just light up, especially if they've not met an American.
Yeah.
And so the non-believers have always just been just kind and easy to be with.
Yeah. And what did they say when they realized that you're a missionary?
Well, what I always explain what I do rather than use that word. Sometimes I'll say it, but I explain, like they say, "Oh, what do you do here?" And I'll say either something like, "I'm looking for unhealthy people," and they say, "What? Are you a doctor?" And I said, "No, Jesus came to help the unhealthy, not the healthy people." And I tell them about Jesus, or what do you do here? Oh, I work with youth and tell them about Jesus. Or what do you do here? I work for a Christian organization where we teach English and tell people about Jesus and teach the Bible. I'll use, I'll say something like that.
And why don't you use the word missionary?
I do sometimes, but I think most people think American in Czech as a missionary is someone who knocks on your door and or a sect, and so I think I need to explain that I have the original Bible, the original Jesus that I follow. I'm not following some religion that was created in America, which I don't recommend anyone following a religion created in America.
Okay. And how has this work enriched you?
It's been so challenging. Almost everything I've done has been on the edge of my capability. It's been pushing me to the edge, but I think that's kept me going because it keeps me motivated and relying on God. And it is really, really, really hard. The first, especially, it can be high points of stress with the change in job, change in culture, change in food, change in friends. It can be really tough. It's not anymore. Working with people is tough because there's a lot of unhealth here. It's easy when people are healthy and mature, but people are really broken and some are immature. They're intellectual and educated, but lacking maturity, and that's hard to work with people who are not mature and like Jesus,
Yeah. And what has been difficult to deal with?
We work really, really hard, and sometimes we don't see somebody believe in Jesus. And we agree with St. Paul, who said, there's nothing better than knowing Christ. Not religion, not money, not homes or cars or education. Nothing compares to knowing Jesus Christ and having a peace with God through Jesus Christ. And not that many people have peace with God through Jesus Christ in the Czech Republic. And it's hard when not many people around you have that. It's hard for teenagers when they're the only Christians in their school. And but especially the unhealth and immaturity. And you find that in the church too. And that's really hard.
Yeah. And what does help you to get through those tough times? You already said that at the very beginning it was God. So
You also forgive people always and immediately and constantly, and bless them and want good for them. You bless your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. And then a vacation time where you maybe even take a break from all your work. A day off helps. Entertainment and recreation helps recreate your soul and mind and body.
Okay. So that's all.
Okay.
And do you have anything what you want to add or clarify?
Maybe just that spiritual work is done in a spiritual way. And so it's very hard to explain to someone who's only intellectual but not spiritual what the spiritual is. And so some people say, if show me and I'll believe. But I say, believe and you'll see. They'll say, once I see, I'll believe. But I say, believe and you'll see. And you really do see all kinds of truth, and everything in the Bible is unbelievably accurate and right. And the best explanation, the best worldview, the best explanation of how people and how the spiritual world is. And it's sometimes hard to persuade people that the man Jesus is worth following. You talk to people and then they talk about something that a Christian or a church member did that's bad. And I think you should still follow Jesus if some church member did something bad. Or if someone hurt you, it's the time to remain close to God, not to leave him. And these are all things I see, that people will lose the best thing just because someone did something bad, or history. I don't even think Christianity reflects Jesus very well. I pray that it would. So I would just encourage checks who are hungry spiritually to know the secret of Christianity, and that's Jesus, that the old me is dead and the new Jesus is alive in me. And then you have a full heart, like you're not thirsty. He's the living water, the bread of life. And that's what we're here to, to share.
Yeah.
You can't force it on people, but you do try to persuade them that Jesus is the Messiah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, cool.
Hey, it was very interesting. Yeah, I'm not recording.